All right, one more time. My bad.
Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. This is State Representative Brad Halbrook here with members of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, both of the House and the Senate. And we've got some important information we want to give to you this evening here. We should have this wrapped up short of 2 hours, I think. And so anyhow, with that, gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live stream. And again, we've got some important topics. Representative Leader Chairman Miller, give us some thoughts real quick on why people should join in and listen to the Illinois Freedom Caucus Tuesday night roundtable.
Well, I think that the reason why you need to tune in is because this is the Illinois home of truth, logic, and common sense. You will see and hear things here that you will never see in the media and the fake news of ABC, NBC, CNN, et cetera, and even the hallowed writings of Rich Miller and Capital Facts. You will see the unvarnished truth. So climb aboard and strap it up.
Yeah. Speaking about unvarnished truth, we have Representative Will Hauer, Vice Chairman of the Freedom Caucus. You are the front row truth speaker down there, and you've been spewing some truth here lately down there on the front row. What's that like now?
Well, they give us plenty of reasons, Brad. I mean, there's been a vacuum in this state for way too long with people that are unafraid to go up against the liberal and left-wing orthodoxy here. And, I think the folks on this group here have shown that they can be bold, and we can articulate a message. The people of Illinois need hope, and we try to bring that and accountability every day.
Yeah, exactly. And Senator Chesney, I've not watched any of the Senate sessions. You guys have been in, I assume, some over there. What's the mood? What's it like over in the Senate the last couple of weeks since we've got back to the new General Assembly?
Well, the Senate's a little quieter than the House. That's been a big adjustment, and will continue to be an adjustment. A lot of the performance that you see on the Democrat side of the aisle in the House, or the theater, the theatrics, you just don't see that as much in the Senate. There's this unspoken rumor that the Senate are the adults in the room, which sounds great until you see the policies they vote for, and they're just about as insane as the House side. The only difference is maybe they speak it a little bit different. So don't let the rhetoric fool you. What they do in the Senate is just equally as damaging as the House. They just get there a little bit differently.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, that's a great intro. Let's get into our slide set here. We're going to talk about the immigration situation in Illinois. We're going to talk a little bit about the Trust Act that was signed into law under Governor Ronner back in the summer of 2017. This law was known as SB 31 when it made its way through the General Assembly. And just real quick, it was promoted as a way to build trust between the immigrant communities and local law enforcement by preventing local police from enforcing federal immigration laws. Representative Will Hauer, any thoughts as we kind of get into this situation about the Trust Act and what's going on with the DOJ now and suing Pritzker and Mayor Johnson and the like?
Well, Brad, insane, unbelievable that we ever, passed a measure like this, and especially unbelievable that it was passed under a Republican governor with some Republican votes put on it. What we're seeing today is the reason, is the number one reason why folks like the Freedom Caucus continue to advocate for, accountability for every party. We don't capitulate to the far left narrative. All right. This may have felt good for Governor Rauner and some of the other Republicans to act like they cared and were working with Democrats, but it's wrecking destruction on our state right now. We've got hundreds of people in Cook County Jail that we know are dangerous criminals, that are illegal aliens. And, you know, it would be very easy for ICE to detain and deport those criminals from those jails, but they can't do it because they've been instructed by our state not to cooperate. So they let these people out on the streets, and then our law enforcement officers got to go risk themselves and risk the community in order to carry out federal law. It's absolutely insane. You know, there was 51 Republicans in the Illinois House when they voted for this act. Today, there's 40. All right, that should give some insight into standing on principle, and kowtowing to the left-wing mob doesn't work.
Right, exactly. Senator Chesney, I know that you weren't in the General Assembly yet, but we had evidently a few Republicans voted for it back then. How's this been working out for us? What's your thoughts from the Senate version now that you're there?
Well, I think Blaine made a great point. You know, we're not in the super minority because we were too conservative for Illinois and the electorate kicked out the conservatives. I mean, you can take a look at all of the top leadership through the years, and they've always tried to push us to the middle and the middle left. And these bills like the Trust Act is precisely why Republicans are in the super minority. And so when people down in Springfield say that they want to be the adult in the room, I think they should look to the Freedom Caucus for those adults, because, you know, this far left compromise party that we see, both the Republicans and then, you know, the left loves bringing the Republicans in on these issues. And so this bill is very simple. You know, it prohibits local law enforcement from communicating with federal law enforcement. And we had Republicans that thought that was really good. So if you had people that were federal lawbreakers, there was no way for the federal lawbreakers and the local law enforcement to communicate with one another. And not only do we have Republicans support it, we had the leader of the Republican Party sign the bill. And then people want to say, oh, we need to get a more moderate caucuses. Well, no, we need to start acting like conservatives. Just simply follow the party platform. And so these types of things, we bring these up. And for the listeners that are going to watch this is why a Freedom Caucus needs to exist in every state, is because we have people that are deal cutting us to the super minority. And it's very evident in Illinois.
Exactly. Leader Chairman, you've been a big advocate of of President Trump, his administration. The day Pam Bondi was sworn in, she sued the governor and the mayor of Chicago. Give us your take on what's happening here.
Well, you know, what we're witnessing in real time is the Democrat meltdown against the idea of making America great again. And also, you know, they're missing out on the golden age of the whole United States. And, you know, life is getting better for all America except for Governor Pritzker's fascist state of Illinois. You know, and I know that the Dems had a complete meltdown on the Wednesday before we adjourned. You know, and it was one thing that we saw emotional outbursts. We saw hate speech. We saw even the leader of the Democrat part, the majority leader, Chris Welch, express his anger, bitterness, and even hatefulness towards the idea of making America great again. And I think that, I don't know, I look at this thing and I think there's obviously a mental health crisis going on in our midst. And I know one of the things that I want to try to do, at least when we go back into session next week, is offering some counseling services there in my office. And, you know, maybe starting with a group hug and some hot cocoa, possibly some comfort stuffed animals or something that they can pet while they're there, and coloring book with all of the colors, you know, the big box of crayons, and I think that if we can do that, that we can all work together to kind of bring them through this crisis they're suffering through right now.
Well, thank you for that, Leader Chairman Miller. That's why you are the Leader Chairman. I think probably the question that is on all of our viewers' mind right now is when you say big box of callers, is that the 64 count or the 128 count box
No,
of callers?
that's the 128, the big
The
box.
128. Okay.
You
All
can
right.
even it's even got a place where you can sharpen your crayons on the back of it.
Excellent.
Brad,
Director Mosley?
well, something on this slide too. The governor, as you've seen, the DOJ sue the governor and the mayor, and they're in the media whining about Trump every day, or as Leader Wilhauer would say, reduced to a puddle of tears. And the funny thing is, the governor has no problem threatening public schools, local governments, local organizations, or churches, even with legal action or taking away grant money, removing certain statuses whenever they don't obey with his tyrannical, whether it was the COVID orders or sex education orders, whatever it may be. If the governor wants it, and somebody dared defy him, then all means are necessary to enforce his orders. But when the federal government says, "Hey, you're usurping the Constitution and federal immigration law," oh, nothing to see here. How dare you sue us? How dare you? It's ridiculous. So the governor, and this is classic, spoiled rich baby. I mean, what's good for me is not good for thee, and that's just the way it is.
Exactly. Great commentary, gentlemen. Anything else before we move to the next slide? Seeing none, Director, if you'll move us to the next slide. So 104th General Assembly was sworn in on January the 8th. Thousands of bills have been filed in both chambers. Committee assignments have been made. And I know, Senator Chesney, that you there in the Senate, a few committees met last week. What's your sense over there now? We want to make a special point that you are the Senate Ag Committee chair or spokesperson. Oh, sorry, but I give you another upgrade. I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to misspeak. You are the Senate Ag spokesperson in the Senate for the Republicans, and that's a great honor. So with that, Senator Chesney.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brad. Not a whole lot going on the Senate side for now. This is of course the bill filing season where we're going to kind of see, what bills are filed to tell a story and what bills are filed to actually get signed into law. Obviously there's a lot of concern. There's a House bill that I'm sure you'll get into that could regulate, in my view, overregulate the homeschooling groups that has gotten a lot of attention. Of course, there's going to be a continuation of the anti-gun and pro-abortion bills that are going to come on the Democrat side of the aisle. There's going to be some additional interest in trying to Trump-proof Illinois and what that kind of looks like. But these policies are just not popular, and so the governor and the Democrat radicals are really on these 80-20 issues. They're just on the 20% side, and so when they're really tested in their communities, even though these are gerrymandered districts and in areas that Republicans just would really be struggled to be formidable candidates in these areas, they're still on the losing side of these issues. And so I think President Harmon's going to try to figure out how to navigate this and unpack it. But ultimately, he's going to take his marching orders, similar to Speaker Welch, from the progressive left, because the way that they drew the districts and the people that are starting to win on the Democrat side of the aisle are even more crazy than they've been even 5 or 8 years ago. And so they've really taken the state in a much more progressive and liberal direction. And so we'll see how it all kind of unfolds. But they got a $3.3 billion budget deficit they're going to have to plug. Of course, we know they don't cut anything, so they're going to want to raise taxes. And so to be seen on what it looks like.
Exactly. Let's go to Blaine and then to Chris. Blaine, you can kind of fill in the between here, and then Chris, you can kind of give us your take on what happened also late Wednesday afternoon and what's represented in this photo here on this slide. So Blaine, what's your thoughts here real quick?
Well, I mean, Andrew said it pretty well. There is a real disconnect with reality among the Democrat Party. They have done themselves a disservice by the way that they drew these districts, getting all these radicals in here. You know, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. Woke is dead. They killed it in November. All right, the Democrats don't realize that because there is a disconnect there. So, you know, it gives us an opportunity to really message and be the party of common sense and reasonableness. But we've got to be bold enough to do it, and we've got to be bold enough to talk to the people that you know, ears are open for us. There's a lot of people in, you know, urban and minority areas that are just completely being disenfranchised by the Democrats and the far left over the last generation. And there's a lot of similarities between us and our districts and them in their districts in the terms of how the government has, you know, systematically put their you know, hand on us, you know, in terms of driving away industry, driving away opportunity. You know, when that stuff happens, bad things follow it. And, you know, as far as the, you know, all the antics, all the crying in the House about the great things that Trump is doing, you know, I call it winning and whining. You know, you know that you're winning when the most far left legislature in the country is in there screaming and shaking their fist at the sky. You know, basically the wholesale destruction of their Marxist utopia that they've been trying to build over the last few years at the hands of President Donald Trump, and more importantly, at the will of the American people. So we are on the ascendancy. It's time to realize it, and it's time to go on offense, because people need to hear our message.
Exactly. And Leader Chairman Miller, so late afternoon, Wednesday, the Democrats filed five different resolutions. Basically, you know, the resolutions are just kind of points to talk about. They have no effect in law, but they were mostly can be summarized as anti-Trump or anti-Trump administration. It's just political gamesmanship at the best or the worst. Kind of from your perspective, there's a photo here of a press conference that was held. Give us your take on kind of what happened late Wednesday and what ultimately transpired that day.
Well, one thing that Democrats are famous for, as well as the legacy media, is they want to talk about everything. They want to trot out red herrings and try to get you to focus on the shiny object rather than talking about the real issue that affect hard working class Illinoisans. And you know what the people are interested in are the kitchen table issues, the things that directly impact their quality of life. And with the Democrats being in charge, you know, relatively speaking, for the last 50 years, I'm not sure what is going through their mind to think that these guys are ever going to fix anything, because they have a long history of completely dismantling and destroying the state. And every quality of life issue has gone downhill since they've been in charge. And you know, they want to stand up there and ridicule and badmouth the golden age of America coming and making America great again, and completely ignore the kitchen table issues that affect every Illinoisan. And those are pretty simply put: safety and security, and quality education, and economic opportunity. And they aren't addressing at all the inflation issue that was caused by them. With basically an attack on the middle class, an attack on people in fixed incomes, et cetera, et cetera. Our energy costs are out of control. And like I said, every quality of life issue has gotten worse under this regime that we're seeing. You know, Illinois used to be known for production, for production agriculture, specifically for corn, soybeans, wheat, cattle, hogs, and our natural resources that are abundant with oil, natural gas, and coal, and manufacturing. All those things have been replaced by Chinese battery plants, Chinese solar panels, Chinese windmills, and if you think about it, we got our calling card, come to Illinois, and puts your families in jeopardy of being killed or raped by illegals. Come to Illinois and kill your babies. Come to Illinois and buy your drugs. Come to Illinois and gamble your hard-earned money away. Come to Illinois and you can watch a drag show. Come to Illinois and get your kids indoctrinated by the radical left crazies that are destroying education. The hits just keep on coming. And I'm sorry that it's time to go on the offense. It's time to dominate the news cycle. It's time to hit every target that they put out there every day, tee it up and drive it into oblivion, because the Illinois people are sick of this crap.
Yeah, that's great points. And gentlemen, I think Illinois is going to bring new definition to the 60s phrase of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, with a few other things thrown in there coming this spring. So, hey, let's go to kind of a closing round here. Let's go Chesney, Wilhauer, and Miller. Is there 30 seconds as we close out, as people look at the website and the Substack as they find us, how to find us and get information? Senator Chesney, 30 seconds real quick, and then we'll go Wilhauer and Miller.
Yeah, Freedom Caucus, we stand for going on offense. We don't apologize for the party platform, and we have to continue to expose and remind the electorates of what we stand for, what some mushy Republicans have done in the past, and certainly what the radicals and the left are doing to this country. And they are far out of balance with where mainstream America is, and that's the purpose of why we're doing this tonight, and why we'll continue to do it in future weeks.
Exactly. Blaine?
All gas, no brakes. This is our time. We get a few moments in history where we really get to make a difference. And, our movement is on the ascendancy, so we need to start acting like it.
Right. Chris?
Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in this evening. I hope that you've enjoyed the commentary and the unvarnished truth, and we'll continue to be shining a light and forcing the cockroaches to run to the corners. So stay tuned, because we're just getting into silly season right now. And so, like Brother Wilhauer said, it's all gas and no brake, and we're going to be shifting into overdrive.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, this is no time to camp out. It's time to be engaged. Citizenship is not a spectator sport, as we see these really egregious and violent bills that are being filed and that will probably start to make their way through the process. It's time to engage. I spoke on the House floor a couple of weeks ago about the fact that of the many economic upturns in our nation of the last few decades, Illinois has an uncanny way of missing those upturns due to bloated budgets, overregulation, high taxes. The list goes on. So we need citizens all across the state to engage with their legislators to push back, help us to push back on these really bad pieces of legislation. And as always, we appreciate that you would like, share, follow, and subscribe to our content to help us overcome the algorithmic gods of the big tech overlords. And with that, let's close out for the evening and say goodnight.